Hello everyone! This is a subject I've been meaning to cover for over a week now, but unfortunately life just kept getting in the way. But on the other hand, thank God it did, because the more this story developed, the more clown worldish it got. If you didn't have a good reason to not particularly like Nicola Sturgeon before, wait until you found out what's going on in this video. And I don't see the reason for waiting about, let's just get into it. Neighbours watch Nicola Sturgeon house raid like Line of Duty episode. Husband Peter Murrell arrested over alleged discrepancies in SMP finances. And this arrest was no joke, by the way. They erected a forensics tent outside the house. Now, these usually only come up when violent crimes have happened and the police have to either dig up a body or investigate a murder scene that is far too, let's say, vivid for the common onlooker's eyes. So in this case, it's kind of hard to say why there is a blue tent outside the Sturgeon's new build. But if that wasn't bad enough, this isn't the only place the police were seen in Scotland that day. They were also seen 40 miles away in Edinburgh, raiding the SNP's HQ. And as you can see from this picture, it looks like some sort of massive drug bust. So whatever's been going on is serious business. The Sturgeons are in deep trouble here. So you might be wondering, well, what the hell is going on? Well, Peter Murrell, Nicola Sturgeon's husband, who quit as the SNP chief executive in a row over membership numbers, was questioned by detectives for 11 hours at Falkirk police station before being released without charge pending further investigation. Sturgeon's spokeswoman said she had no prior knowledge of Police Scotland's actions or intentions and that she would fully cooperate with Police Scotland if required. However, at the time, no such request has been made. 4 police vans were also parked outside Gordon Lamb House, the SNP HQ in Edinburgh, behind the Scottish Parliament. Officers were seen leaving the building after about 5 hours with 10 large blue bags of evidence. Officers are investigating claims that £600,000 of donations given in 2017 to support the campaign for the second independence referendum were used for other purposes, and if there is a massive tent looking for God knows what in the ground in front of their new build house, and they are leaving the HQ with 10 large blue bags of evidence, I would be surprised if nothing was found, but obviously this is all just alleged so far. So if that was it, I would just milk the arrest for all it's worth, but honestly it's not particularly interesting beyond the details I gave you. What has been interesting has the revelations since this arrest. And last week it came out that SNP finances were kept secret amid questions over missing funds. Senior officials blocked a proposal to open parties' books after reports about cash for second Scottish independence referendum. In other words, there does appear to have been some money gone missing, hence the investigation. Senior SNP figures shut down plans to open the books on party finances when questions were first raised about missing funds for a second independence referendum, the time can disclose. Keith Brown, the deputy leader, whom Hunza Yousaf sacked from his cabinet shortly after replacing Nicola Sturgeon as First Minister, had his proposal to increase transparency by demanding a monthly written summary of income and expenditure shelved by the party hierarchy, including Sturgeon's husband, Peter Murrell, in 2021. 4 months earlier, Police Scotland had confirmed that they were investigating reports of fraud over £600,000 of money raised and apparently ring-fenced to campaign for independence. In the intervening period, Douglas Chapman, the MP for Dunfermline and West Fife, had quit as Treasurer, saying he was unable to carry out his duties properly because of a lack of transparency from party headquarters. Members of the Finance Committee also quit with similar complaints. So all your finances are leaving over a lack of transparency from HQ, and if you didn't think it could get any worse, it unfortunately does. So in his 40-page transparency report to the party's ruling body, seen by the Times, Keith Brown said the police investigation into alleged missing funds would inevitably raise questions about the SNP's financial governance and highlight the need to restore confidence in our procedures. One of the report's conclusions stated, "It is imperative that the workings and decisions of the party are transparent and accessible. None of the key recommendations have been implemented. One was to create a beefed-up finance, audit and risk committee that would provide constructive scrutiny of the SNP finances and receive the regular report and bank statements." So they've had this problem for a while, that the HQ are not being transparent enough. There are finances and auditors who, within the party, saying we need to be a bit more transparent, here are some recommendations, and Party HQ just ignored it all. No wonder they're being investigated. By the way, that story was just about the finances. A common phrase I'm going to be using throughout this video is, but wait, it gets worse, because SNP auditor resigned before Peter Murrell arrest. In other words, the writing was on the wall probably for some years, But now that the investigation was happening, auditors were going, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this. This is all the work I've done. I'm not getting my reputation tarnished because the SNP are a bunch of muddy-grubbing, corrupt politicians. Imagine my shock. Just to put it in perspective, if this was happening with a private company, if auditors and head auditors were resigning from a company, what that typically means is either the company is about to go under or a lot of arrests are about to be made because of white-collar crimes. The accountancy firm used by the SNP to audit its accounts has resigned as police investigate the party's finances. Johnston Carmichael, which has worked with the SNP for more than a decade, said the decision had been taken after review of its clients. It is understood that Johnston Carmichael pulled out before Murrell's arrest. The SNP said it was in the process of appointing a new accountancy firm. Large political parties must submit accounts that have been independently audited. The party has until the first week of July to provide the documents to the Electoral Commission or face possible sanctions. If the accounts are not provided, and there is no reasonable excuse, the Commission has the power to appoint its own auditors, and if that happens, you are in big, big trouble. So that's what the Times had to say about it, that the accountancy firm actually resigned probably about 2 weeks ago, something like that. Well, it turns out the SNP are just in the pits at the moment, because it turns out that's the nice version of the story. The version that Sky got, that Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf reveals that SNP auditors resigned 6 months ago, and he did not previously know. It was revealed last week Johnston Carmichael had stepped down from doing the SNP's accounts after Nicola Sturgeon's husband was arrested as part of a finance investigation, but Mr Yousaf said they actually resigned in October. It's almost like the auditors did not like the transparency, realised that this is going to only get worse, and decided we're not going to use them as a client anymore. The SNP have been accused of hiding the fact its accounting firm resigned 6 months ago after its new leader revealed it did so and implied he was not previously aware. Humza Yousaf said Johnston Carmichael stopped using the SNP's accounting around about October of last year, but he could not comment on what was done prior to me becoming a leader of SNP. The SNP leader and Scotland's First Minister did not say when they had quit, but Mr Yousaf, who was in Nicola Sturgeon's cabinet, agreed it was extraordinary that the party had failed to appoint a new set of auditors since they had resigned. So it's absolutely no wonder that the SNP are being investigated at the moment. They're not even sure if they have an accounting firm at the moment, and they're not even sure if they had one for the past 6 months. And they need to get all their accounts in order by the 1st of July, which is 3 months off. And if you think that having the ex-chief executive of your political party being questioned for 11 hours, 10 large blue bags of evidence being taken out of the SNP headquarters, and the deal with your accounting firm and audits not being in order was bad enough, wait till you hear the even worse part of the story. Nicola Sturgeon told SNP's executive to stop asking about money. Questions over missing 600,000 raised by supporters for a second independence vote. Yes, Nicola Sturgeon literally got fed up with people saying, "Are you doing something illegal?" Nicola Sturgeon urged the ruling body of the SNP to stop raising questions about the party's finances shortly after police started investigating them, it has been claimed. Party insiders claim that Sturgeon had previously tried to quash questions about the money from party's National Executive Committee. It is alleged that she told the recorded meeting in August 2021, a month after police launched Operation Branchform, an investigation into possible fundraising fraud. We don't need to talk about the finances are absolutely fine. It was reported that Sturgeon was raging and said those who were raising the issue were undermining the party. No, I think they just want to make sure that there will be a party next year after you've been fined up the wazoo. My god, these accounts must be funny. So, one person said they had never seen anything like the meeting which took place over Zoom during the pandemic. They said SNP headquarters requested that the session be recorded, but only when discussing financial concerns and recommendations in the governance review. Another person present told the Sunday Mail newspaper the recommendations were supposed to be discussed by the NEC, and the reason for the recording was to allow SNP HQ staff to write up the discussion, to make it easier to see what we had said about every point in the report, and then decide what to put forward for approval. When the next NEC meeting took place 2 months later, we were told there hadn't been enough time to review the recording, so the recommendations wouldn't be going forward. Great, so that's their excuse for not putting in any of the recommendations. It's because they couldn't be bothered to go through a recording for 2 months about something that a lot of the NEC were very, very worried about, and apparently were right to be worried about. Good work, Nicola. And finally, just because I love seeing Nicola Sturgeon humiliated, motorhome seized from Nicola Sturgeon's mother-in-law on day of husband's arrest. An £110,000 motorhome has been seized from outside the home of Nicola Sturgeon's mother-in-law, apparently as part of Police Scotland's investigation into the SNP's finances. The German-made Niesmann and Bischoff was taken from the home of Margaret Murrell, 92, in Dunfermline on Wednesday. It happened as police searched the home of Sturgeon and her husband, Peter Murrell, the former SNP chief executive, the Scottish Mail on Sunday said. It is not known whether the motorhome was taken after being seized, and the police declined to say how long it will be impounded for. According to the newspaper, police arrived to collect the van around 9 a.m, with 2 unmarked cars, an SUV, an estate car, and a tow truck. Neighbours said it had been delivered to the house in January 2021, and as far as they knew had not moved since. Oof. Oh no. Which the implication of that being is that motorhome costing £110,000 was literally just there as an asset. Which, to be fair, why would you buy a 92-year-old woman a motorhome? Where are they going to drive it? It is a very odd thing to buy for a mother-in-law that is that old. At 92, sure, you're going to mainly be having your holidays within the United Kingdom. You're probably not going to be driving to these places yourself, though. Still, in every possible way, this is hilarious. But getting back to serious politics for a second, you don't need any reminding that Humza Yousaf is the new First Minister for Scotland, and Nicola Sturgeon recently resigned. Now, the old narrative was that she tried to push through the gender recognition bill, and that got vetoed by Parliament. Now, it didn't come long after that before Nicola Sturgeon decided to resign, so everyone assumed, it's because she got beaten down by Westminster, and therefore it would be a bad idea for the next First Minister to try and keep pushing that agenda. Well, Humza Yousaf came in and he said it's got to be one of the first things that he tries to do. But now that things have really gone down in terms of this investigation, I think what's actually happened is Nicola Sturgeon saw the writing on the wall, and she is probably going to resign as an MSP at some point soon. I think her husband especially, but her as well, are going to be defendants in court soon, given all this money laundering that's going on. I mean, £600,000 is a ridiculously high amount of money, and if that has been embezzled, then, well, quite frankly, you deserve jail time and to never be a politician again. But what she's probably going to do is try and resign first, and then, once all this is cleared out, I think she's either eyeing up a place at the UN or at the EU, given how much she loves the place. And because that's what politicians do, they never seem to be able to get a real job again. It just seems to be more, where in government can I go? And in Nicola Sturgeon's case, no way she's going to be found dead in Scotland again, working one of these jobs, so she'll have to go abroad for it. And so, because she actually did resign because of this, and it was probably an open secret within the SNP, this is why Humza Yousaf is still pushing the woke agenda, for lack of a better term. It's because that's not why Nicola Sturgeon's gone. It's probably nothing to do with it, to be quite honest. And since the SNP seem to be full of morons in the upper echelons of it, and they don't realise that there's actually quite a lot of pushback against that type of agenda, he's just going to keep on pushing it. But either way, at the moment, it will be interesting to see where exactly this investigation leads us. But that is everything I had for you today. So, as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.